The question, well, probably the two questions that I get the most are very related. One is, what editing software do I use? And the other is, how do you edit a video? Tiny House Prepper. Hey everybody, I'm Bill with Tiny House Prepper, and this is the next video in the series that I'm making about how to make YouTube videos. I get quite a few questions from time to time relating to making videos and uploading to YouTube. The question, well, probably the two questions that I get the most are very related. One is, what editing software do I use? And the other is, how do you edit a video? So that's what this video will be all about. Now there are, when you're taking a video in a camera or a cell phone or whatever, every single time you push the record button and turn it off again, it makes a separate little file, little computer file. And if you download them all into your computer and then you click on one of those files to play the video, it's only going to play that one little clip. So if it's a 10-second clip, if you've recorded 20 minutes of video and you download it all and you click on one to play it, it's a 20-second clip, it's only going to play the 20 seconds. It's not going to play everything else. So you have to take all of those separate files and paste them all together, edit them all together into one file in order to make it play as a long-term video. So that's what the editing software is all about. And then you can do all kinds of fancy things. You have to, stick them together, but then you can do neat transitions, you can add music, you can add text, you can add all kinds of things. Now, I am by no means an expert at this. There are people who are better at it than me. My son is one of them. He does a lot of green screen stuff and really neat things that I'm just beginning to learn. But I've been doing YouTube videos for about 4 years now, so I can show you a few things. Software. You have to have a separate editing software program, and there are many, many, many to choose from. There are many free ones to choose from. When I first started, I have a PC, and when I first started I was using Windows Movie Maker, and it came free in my computer, and so that's what I started using because it was already there. And when I first started, it was adequate. It did everything that I needed. In later versions of PCs, Windows 10 and later, I believe, it was no longer automatically included, but you could still download it. I just went to the site to find out now, and it's not even available for download anymore. So that one is no longer available. There are many other free ones. Just do a search for free editing software and you'll find all kinds of free stuff there. I can't recommend any of them in particular because I've never used any of them. But I will give you some of the basics, concepts of how editing software works, so that you can try, some of those if you want. Now, what I did, I used the Windows Movie Maker for a while, for probably about a year, and then as my editing skills got better, I started to want to do things that editing software did not have the capabilities to do. So I searched around and I found one, and it's the one I've been using ever since. It's called Wondershare Filmora, and this costs about $60, and then it's a download, and then you own it. You can download it for free to try it out, but it has a watermark on it, which will show up on all of your finished videos. So then to get rid of that watermark, you just pay the $60 and they give you a code to get rid of it. So it's a good way to get started, to be able to just, experiment with it and see if that's what you want. Now, so I'm going to show you how I use Windows Filmora. If you want to use another one, I can't give you the specifics about that one. However, all the concepts are pretty much the same. The buttons will be in a different place and all that, but all the concepts of how you edit video are pretty much the same no matter what editing software you use. So, let's go ahead, and I'm going to go to the computer and I'm going to show you how I do this editing. I'm editing a video that we just shot talking about how we really want to travel in our travel trailer, what we call our cottage, a lot more than we are, and eventually we'll be able to, but right now we're discussing, what has happened that we haven't been able to travel as much as we want to this summer. So come along and let me show you what I'm doing here. Okay, so here is the Wondershare Filmora program, and over here are the previous projects that I've had. So when you open a new project, you want to put all your files into that one project. So I'm going to open a new one right here, and I'm going to call it Can't Travel, since we can't travel in our cottage right now because of various things that are going on. So now I have that new project open, and I'm going to have to import all of the video clips into the Filmora program here. I've already downloaded them from my camera and from our cell phones into one file in the computer. So now I'm going to go here to import. Now if I go here, then I can import one individual file, as many as I want. If I go here, then I'm going to be able to import the entire folder at one time. So I need to find the folder. Can't travel. So now they are importing. Now if I'm doing a video where, what I call a talking heads video, where it's just me and Elizabeth sitting there on the couch and the entire thing is one clip, it doesn't take long to edit at all. But you see how many clips I have here. They're still uploading, or still loading into the program. I haven't counted them, but it's probably 20 at least. Typically our travel videos have as many as 50 or 60 clips, and that takes a long time to edit. I can easily spend 8 or 10 hours to edit one of those videos. If I'm doing a talking heads with only one clip, I can do it in 10 or 15 minutes. This one is kind of medium size. It might take me 2 or 3 hours to do this one. So now I have the thumbnails, so I can see kind of what the clips are about, so I can choose the ones I want first. And so first I'm going to start with this one, and I just click on there and drag it down, and then in a different program or a different project, I have our animated intro, which is here. Now you can either click it and drag it, or if I click here on the center, it adds it to the project right where I have the cursor. So I'm going to add that. And that's our animated intro. And while I'm here, I'm also going to add the music. This is called Book Bag, and this is our music that we use for the intro. So I'm going to add that. Notice it goes in at a lower line, and I'm going to drag it over to the beginning. Now for right now, I'm going to turn the volume on that way down. So I right click and hit edit. This takes me to the page where I can adjust the volume. Here's the volume. I'm going to turn it way down so it's not intrusive. So now let's go back to here. I'm going to play this. See what it sounds like.
Move over that way a little. Okay, there we go, ready?
So we have our trailer travel. There's a blooper right there. So we have our travel.
Hold it. Let me get this up all together. Okay.
So, all right. Got to back it up just a little bit. Got to figure out where I'm going to start the video.
Okay.
So right there is where the video starts. So then I will go here, because everything before that was just us trying to get get ourselves together. So I go down and highlight this clip, and then I'm going to cut right there. Then I highlight this one and delete just that clip. So now we start at the beginning of the video. So we have our travel trailer back here, what we call the cottage. We're very excited about being able to start to travel in it and see the country.
We were able to take the trip end of June, beginning of July for our anniversary up the Adirondacks,
right.
Which, of course, we have videos about that, which are easy to find. And we loved it, but it's just proved to be much more difficult to travel the rest of the summer than we ever expected.
Right. Okay, so I want to stop right after I say right. Okay. Oop.
The rest of the summer than we ever expected.
Right. So I want to cut it right there. So I come down here, highlight, hit the scissors to cut it, click in there to highlight that section, and then delete that section. So now This is what we got.
But it's just proved to be much more difficult to travel the rest of the summer than we ever expected.
Right. And there's our animated intro right there. So then I go back to my project that I'm working on now, which is Can't Travel. It's got 23 clips in it. Shows it right there. And I know that the next one that I want, see this blue check mark? That means that this is now part of the timeline. This is called your timeline. That's where you're actually working. So I know that right now that's the only one in the timeline. So I know that this is the next one. So I'm going to click it and drag it. Once again, I have to find the beginning part and cut off
Our intro.
anything before that. Hey everybody, there we go, right where I say hey, right about there. My hand went up just before I said that.
Intro.
Oh yeah.
Right about there. So cut that, take out this part. Now where does it start? Hey everybody, I'm Bill.
And I'm Elizabeth with Tiny House.
Okay, good. So let's look at the transition. Tiny House Prepper. Hey everybody, I'm Bill. Alright, that's good. Now, I have the music down here. I had it turned down. I'm going to turn it back up again. We usually use a volume of about 30 right there. And you can see this is our little intro part. This is our animated intro. Then we start into the video. I usually bring the music down about there or so. This is just a guess. And I will cut it and delete the rest of it. And then I'm going to edit this again. I've got the volume set. And then I'm going to fade out right here and hit OK. So now, as we were talking, the music just fades out. Prepper. Hey everybody, I'm Bill.
And I'm Elizabeth with Tiny House Prepper.
Yeah, and so here we sit in our beautiful cottage, our beautiful travel trailer.
I love looking out this window. Oh, I love it here.
You know, we made a video a few months ago when we introduced this, and right there the music faded out. I'm not sure if you can hear it or not. I can. I hope you can. I don't know. But then I go to the end. Well, let's see. Okay, at this point in the video then we started just to show some beautiful fall foliage and scenery. So I'm just going to grab one, put it in here, and I have to cut at the end of this clip before I get up and go back to the camera.
So
in the meantime, we can't travel in this right now. It just hasn't worked out. So in the meantime, we're just enjoying the fall weather and the leaves turning. And
I got to admit, there's some beautiful places pretty close to home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we wanted to take a minute and share some of that with you.
Okay, so I'm going to cut it right there. Let me show you something else. This over here, if I move it, it expands everything. See how it expands it? That gives me a much better ability to have more precise actions. So I move it here, right about there. I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to delete this clip. So now what happens?
And share some of that with you.
Now, it's very important to get the timing right, and that timing there, right here, when we're just stopped and looking at each other, was just slightly too long, and it would make it feeling of dragging.
Some of that with you.
So I want to cut off just this little bit to make it move forward a little bit faster. So I'm going to edit and cut just that little section. Play it again.
take a minute and share some of that with you.
Okay, now I want to put a transition between these so it doesn't just jump from one to the other. And this is really cool. Let me show you this. I'm going to click it here because I'm going to put the transition at the end. I come up here and I click on transitions, and there are all kinds of transitions here that you can see that are ready-made that you can use. And if I just click right in the blue thing, then it'll add it. If I click it outside of the blue thing, then it puts it over here so I can preview it just by clicking and see what the transition looks like. Deposit up. See, they all look different, and you can pick the one that you want. Here's one that I like. Now I also have my favorites. I have 18 of them that I have put in my favorites, like this. So you can just choose. Here's another one. You can choose whatever transition you want between the clips. See how that works? So I'm actually going to use this one, I think, right here. So I click in the blue thing there in the center. It adds it right here. So now let's see what that looks like.
With you. I wanted to take a minute and share some of that with you.
See how easy that transition is? Really cool stuff. So now I go back to media. And now, like I said, it's going to take me several hours to do this, so I'm not going to show it all to you. But I'm just going to right now be adding a bunch of these fall shots. I also have some shots further down here of waterfalls. You can see the waterfall. So I'm going to just put a bunch of those clips in, and then I'll come back and show you how I do a little bit more of the transitions and how I add music to it. Okay, so I've got this one in here, right there. Now I'm going to add this one down here. Now I plan to put music behind this, and for right now you can see that there's wind noise here and ambient noise that's way too loud, and it would drown out the music. Take a listen. Hear that noise? That's way too much. That's way too much. So what I'm going to do is right click here, edit, and then up here for the audio, and here's the volume. I'm going to turn the volume way down. Now I can completely eliminate this if I want, which I probably will, because there will be music over it. But here now you see it won't be so loud. Now a little bit later I'm going to be doing waterfalls, and for waterfalls I want to turn it way down because the waterfalls are really loud. Now to make this completely silent, which I've decided that I want to do because I'm going to have music over top of it and I don't want that ambient noise interfering, I can either do it like I just did. I can hit right click and edit and turn the volume down, or I can just right click right here and hit mute, and that will mute just this one clip so that when I get there there's no sound to interfere with the music. So now it looks like this before I add the music.
And share some of that with you.
And now it's silent. Now I've added this clip of a church, and first of all it's quite loud because I'm standing on the road, so I'm going to mute it. Now I remember this when I shot this. I actually shot it once and then I didn't like the framing of the shot, so I kept rolling and I did it again. So now I have to find that first part that I want to cut out and start when I like it. So I zoomed out, but I didn't really like what I did here. So I zoomed back in. I'm going to start the clip right here. So I highlight this, go over and cut it, highlight this part. See, this part's highlighted right now. After you cut it, it automatically highlights the end. So I'm going to highlight this and hit delete. Now see what I have here. So it starts with the church sign, 1838. That's amazing. And then it zooms out and shows the whole church. And then you also have to be careful not to leave things too long. See, this would bog down if I left it there too long like that. So we have our travel trailer. So what I have to do then is decide where I'm going to clip it so it doesn't go too long and bog the forward motion gets bogged down. So I'm going to zoom out, leave it maybe that long, and then cut it and delete. Okay, now I'm continuing to build this montage of fall scenes here, and we went to a waterfall. It's not far from our house, and it is really beautiful. And I have a shot here that starts with the waterfall, and then it zooms out to show Elizabeth sitting there enjoying the waterfall. Now I also have another shot right here, and by the way, if I click on here without adding it to the timeline, if I click not on the blue spot but on here, then it puts it here and I can preview it. So this one is a shot that she took herself, selfie with her cell phone, of just sitting there enjoying it. So I want to superimpose that over this one. So what I'm going to do, if I just click on the blue one, it'll put it right on top of that and it'll mess it up. So what I'm going to do is take this, left click, and drag it down below. Now you notice that it's there, and I can actually make it smaller if I want, and it's superimposed. This one is superimposed over top of that one. I can make it a picture in a picture like that. I can move it around. I can change the size, whatever I want to do. So I'm going to delete this because that's the easiest way to get it back to full size. I'm just going to put this down here, and I'm going to play it, and I want to find the spot where it's just her face, probably starting right about here. So I'll go down there and cut that out. And I just want a few seconds of her face as she's enjoying it, and she smiles there. Really beautiful. So then I cut that out and clip the end part off. Now I am not going to make it smaller. I'm going to make it, leave it the full size, so that here's what we get. Okay, actually, see right there how she's still kind of messing with her hood. We don't want that, so we're going to move this down a little bit more so that we get to the point where she's just sitting there and enjoying it. So now it looks like this. And then it goes right back to the waterfall again. Now notice that even though we were seeing her face, you could still hear the audio from the picture up above, which was the falls. If she had said something here, you would actually hear the audio of both of them stepping over each other. So what you generally do is, if I don't want the audio down here, I would right click and then mute, and that would get rid of that one. And then if she was saying something here, you would be able to hear it. Even though you're seeing this picture, you would hear this audio. So that's how you do that, where you want to be saying something and then superimpose another picture on top of it. And then of course, if I wanted to, like I showed you before, I click here and then it highlights this, and I can actually go here and make it a smaller, just a picture in a corner if I wanted to. So I'm now finished the rough draft of the video. You can see it all here. And at the end of a YouTube video, you see those other screens pop up that suggest other videos. I can do that after I upload. by adding what's called end screens, and those end screens are the last 20 seconds of a video. So what I always do, we don't like it when somebody puts the end screens over top of when they're still talking, because you don't know whether to listen to the talking or read the end screens. So what we always do is we put something at the end that's not going to interfere with them reading the end screens and deciding if they want to click on one of the other videos that we are recommending. So for that, we always look for something that has to do with the video that we just did. So for this one, I actually have this photograph that I took with a cell phone, and it's a time lapse, and it looks really nice. So I'm going to add that right there at the end. Whoa, that's the wrong one. That's weird. Remove that. Okay, there it is. Now this is just a photograph, and I want it to be, the end screen is 20 seconds long, so I usually make this about 21 seconds, so that this will come up, and then a second later all those 4 videos that I'm suggesting will come up. So with a video clip, you can't change it. It is what it is as far as the length. But with a photograph like this, you can actually change it. You go right here and you click and drag, and it tells you the duration. So look at the top number, duration, bottom number is the amount that I'm adding. So I want to take it out until the duration is about 21 seconds. Right about there. So now, as it's playing along,
Our travel trailer back here, what we call the cottage.
it'll go to that for 21 seconds so that I can do my end screens. Now I also have most of my montage of fall things in here now, so I'm going to want to start doing some transitions between the scenes. And I can, well, these are kind of like all fall scenes, you can see that, and by the way, you can just click this and drag it back and forth. But then here I go to starting the fire and sitting there in front of the fire in the winter. So right here is kind of a bigger transition from, because I'm changing subjects. If I'm going to just go from here to here, it's kind of the same subject, fall foliage. So I want to do what I call a soft transition. So I'm going to go to transitions, favorites. For a soft transition, I'll do something like dissolve, which is this one, and that looks like this, where one dissolves into the other like this, which looks kind of nice. But going into changing subjects from the fall foliage to the fireplace, I want to do something a little bit harder. Instead of a soft transition, I want a hard transition. So the cube is nice, that looks like this. Or this one is nice, the twirl. It makes a real definite transition. There's also this one, I kind of like this one, the turn, like that. Actually, I think I'm going to use the twirl. So I'm going to click here in the center, and that adds the twirl, so that looks like this. Let me try that again. There you go. Now I'm lighting the fire. So I'm going to go through and do different transitions. I always try to break them up, and I do different ones. I don't always want to do the same one. Here's one that I like. It's called the erase slide. I'll just stick that one in here so you can see what this looks like. And I don't always put transitions. Sometimes if you do too many transitions, it gets kind of overwhelming. But if you do tasteful transitions in key places, it can really make the whole video feel more professional. So I'm going to go through the rest of this now and add transitions to where I want them. So now I pretty much have all the different montage clips in for the fall. And what I want to do is look at them all, and I just want to play the whole thing and see how it flows. And right off the bat, what I discover with this one is that it's too long. Just keep watching it, and if I would leave it go like this, people would start to get bored by this, so I have to cut it down a little bit. And then I go to the next one and see how shaky it is right here at the beginning. I want to cut that shaky part out, so I probably start it right about there. And then I also see that this one is way too long as well, and this is just, it makes the thing move really slow. It's just too much. And then it goes to the, and I want to cut out that shaky part at the end, and then it goes to here where I've already adjusted that one. So what I want to do, I want to go back here and I want to cut it so it's not too long and boring. So I'll go maybe about that far, and then I'll cut it and delete this section. Then I go into the next one, and remember the beginning of this was really shaky right there. So I want to wait until it settles down, and then I'll start right about here, and I'll cut out this section. And then this was also too long and it was shaky at the end. So I'll stop it right about there. See, there's still almost half of it left. That's just too much. Cut that out. Now, when I adjusted it, I lost my transition here. Let's see what this transition is. Okay, that's a hard transition. So the next one for right here, I'm going to want a shorter transition. So let's see now. What do I want here? Maybe a fade, so it looks like this. So now let's look at that whole section and see if it flows better. Of course, I haven't added music. This will all have music over top of it. Let's see, just by about the time you start to get tired of it, it moves to the next one. And then it jumps to that. I'm not going to put a transition there. Sometimes it's good to leave transitions out. So it's really a lot of creative license that you have here in making it flow properly and keeping it moving along, and don't let it get too bogged down. Sometimes if you just cut off a second or a half a second off of any particular clip, it'll make it move along much better. So now the next thing I need to do is add music. Now I've already done a video about where we find the music and how we use it. I will put a link at the end to my playlist of how to make a video, YouTube video. In that playlist, if you're interested, you'll find the one about where we find the music. So I won't go into that. But I'm now ready to add music, and I want to start it right here. See, here we're talking and music would be intrusive.
Take a minute and share some of that with
But
you.
I want to start the music right here where the fall foliage starts, and I want it to continue until I start with the fireplace right here. I see people many times, they'll have a long clip and they'll put in a piece of music that isn't long enough to cover the clip, and then they'll just start another piece of music, and there isn't anything different that's happening in the video, and it's just awkward at best when the music just stops and then something else starts. So I like to have the music start and stop naturally when I transition from one clip to another. I think it just works much better. So I'm going to start here, and this is at 8:44 in the timeline. See that right there? But you can see it better here. It's in 8:44. And then I want the music to go to here, which is at 9:39. So I want to make sure this isn't that long. 8:30. That's just under a minute. But sometimes I'll have a 4-minute clip or something and I have to find a piece of music that's at least 4 minutes long. But that way I can fade it out. If it's longer than that, I can fade it out right here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if you've watched my video about where we find the music, you know that I found them on YouTube for free without any copyright issues. And the ones that I liked, I downloaded into the computer. Now they're in my download file. So what I had to actually do, I'm not going to show you this, but I had to actually go here to my downloads right there. Well, I guess I'll show you. Here's all the videos, and so I mean the music. So I had to click on each one and listen to each one, try to find one that I liked, and then remember the name, and then I can load it into the editing. And so Into the Wormhole is one that I like. See, it's 1 minute and 17 seconds, so that's long enough. So I go here and I go import. I am going for downloads, and then I'm looking for Into the Wormhole right here. Double click and it loads it into the editing program here. So right here is where I want it to start, where the transition between those two. So then I click here and see that it's added down below. So now it's like this. Actually, that's in the wrong place. This is where the foliage starts. So I'm going to drag it over to there. And so now here is what we have.
Some of that with you.
Now see, there's a little bit of a delay in the music starting, so I'm going to drag it a little bit past here so that the music will start right when the foliage starts. Much better. And then I come over to here. This is where we make the transition from the foliage to the fireplace. So I'm going to cut it right there, cut, and then delete the last part. Then I'm going to right click, edit, and if I need to adjust the volume, I can do that here, which I might down a little. Now I'm going to go fade out, and I'm going to go for the full almost 5 seconds that it'll go there, 5 seconds. So now it starts right here. And then when it gets to the end, it fades out. And it's just a natural transition for the music to end right there where I'm starting the fire. And then I'm going to add a little bit more music again, probably started at this transition right there. Or actually I could even add it. You can hear the lighter striking, and then I'm going to add it right after that. And for this one I've already decided what I want. I'm already in downloads. Okay, so this is the one that I want. I know that because I remember the name of it, The Closing of Summer. So this is where I want this. So I'm going to add it right there. And then that'll go through the fire. And then I have a clip with Elizabeth and Leo. And then we go to the waterfall. Yeah, and I'm going to want to end this right here because there are some things that Elizabeth says. Actually, that's just about perfect. Elizabeth starts talking right there, so that's a perfect place for the music to end. So now this is what I have. this music fades out. Transition. Starting the fire. Then the next piece of music starts. See how there was a little bit of a break and the video was a transition to something different, and it makes more sense for the music to start rather than just end one piece and start the next piece. So then I come down here to the end and see what this looks like. This could have been a little longer, but this will work okay. Oh, okay. For all of the foliage ones, I completely muted the sound. For the, this is where the waterfall starts. I want the sound of the waterfall in the background, but not real loud. So what I'm going to do for each one, I'm going to hit edit, right click and edit, audio, turn the volume. Right now the volume's at 100. I'm going to turn it down to maybe 40 or so. We'll see what that sounds like. Now you can hear the waterfall in the background, but it's not intrusive. So I have to do that to each separate one. Volume down to about 40 more or less. See what that sounds like. Okay. Next one. See how loud that is. Click on here, turn it down to 40, 33, 35. Much better. Now the waterfall sound is not intrusive. Next. So I'm going to do that all the way along. Then I get here to the end, and this is just way too loud because the camera's closer. So I'm going to turn this, oops, I already got that up. I'm going to turn this way down. See, before you couldn't even hear the music. Now I'm going to turn this down even more because it was louder than the others. And then the music fades out. And then there's a section here where she starts to talk.
Oh my goodness, I walked down all by myself. Wow. That is amazing. I'm amazed.
Tell them what just happened.
I've been so
Now if the voice isn't loud enough here, I can edit and then I can actually turn it. This is normally at 100. Like that. I can actually turn it up to 200 and make the voice much louder.
limited as to trails that
I'm not doing that. I just wanted to show you.
I can go on and places that I can go.
There we go. So that's how we do the music, and adjust the volume for each clip, and we can also adjust the volume for the music itself right here. Now I had seen other people record their PC screen so that I could see what they were doing, just like I'm doing here, so that you could see what I'm doing. And I had no idea how to do that, and I didn't discover until I got this editing software that it's built into the software. Up here where it says record from the webcam, that's from the camera on my computer, which hopefully is facing me. Record the PC screen, that allows me to record everything that I'm doing here into a video that I can post. Record a voiceover, that's where you can play the video and record a narration over top of whatever is happening in the video. And in this particular video, Elizabeth will be doing some voiceover. And here's Elizabeth doing a voiceover.
And of course, one of the things that's really kind of wonderful coming into this time of year is it's gotten cold enough that we can use the little cubic mini wood stove again. The pipe is now all fixed properly, and we are enjoying it already so much this year, just to make it nice and toasty warm when the weather gets cold.
Now the last thing that I want to show you is how to add text. I go up here to where it says text, credit. Now these are all different pre-done texts that you can choose the style that you want. This is one that I use sometimes. But once again, I have favorites, and usually, yeah, see, I use this one occasionally, but usually this is the only one that I use. And I want to put the text right there, so I'm going to click on there, and it adds text down below. Now,
And places that I can.
this is the canned text that comes in that, so I'm going to change it. I double click here, and I'm going to type in the text that I want. Now, I can change the style, the color, all kinds of things. I come up here and I double click on that, and I like this one because it's white, but it has a black border around it, so you can read it. If it's on white stuff or on black stuff, you can still read it. And then notice right here it tells me that it's centered on the picture. Then I just get rid of this one, and then click back in here. I want to change the font. I like this font better. I think it reads much easier. And then I can change the font size right there. And that's, oh, I also want to center it like that. And that's good to go.
I've been so limited as to trails that I can go on, and places that I can go, because I would just, my balance would be so bad. I'd be falling all over the place, hanging on to Bill for dear life, and I just got so.
So that's how we add text. Okay, so now the video is actually done. Now as you're doing it, you should be saving it up here periodically to make sure you haven't lost your work. Now that saves it in your project over here within the Filmora software editing. But now that it's completely finished, you have to render it into a new file. Right now these are all still separate clips, and the only way that they are stuck together is within this software program. So when you render it, it takes all of those separate clips and it puts them all into one file. So the way that you do that, you click export, and then over here you can choose what file format you want it to render into, and I usually use MP4, but you can choose what you want. And then here you put in the name that you want. Can't travel. And then here you pick what file you want it to go into. I'm not going to do this because I've already done it, but just to show you, you pick your file there, and then once you have this set, that set, and this set, then you hit export, and it will render it into that new file, and it'll just be one file that you can use that file to upload to YouTube or whatever you want to do with it. So there you have it. That's the basics of how to edit with the Wondershare Filmora editing software. Now, like I said at the beginning, if you have different software, of course everything's going to be different, but the basic concepts are the same, so hopefully that'll get you pointed in the right direction. Now there's a whole lot more that this software will do, but if I try to cover everything, this video would be hours long, and already it's 45 minutes or so, so that's about all I can do for this. But this should at least get you started and get you pointed in the right direction. If you would like to see the video that you saw me editing here, I actually released it a couple days ago. It's called Why We're Not Camping More Often, and I will put a link in the end screen of this video and also down below, so you can go see that video if you'd like. Also for next week, or I don't know if it'll be next Friday or 2 weeks away, but my next video in this series will be how to upload a video on YouTube and how to put in the end screens. So please subscribe so that you can see that. If you're looking forward to that, that'll be coming out soon. And I hope this series is helping, and you have a blessed day. I'll see you next time.